This is the Peter Greenwood Show at the Glasgow Film Festival, and once again, I am joined by a guest. There is a gentleman sitting opposite me. Could you tell me your name and what you do, please?
Yes, hello. My name is Bernhard Wenger, and I'm an Austrian director.
So let's talk about your film. It is called Peacock. And what is Peacock? How does it all come together?
It's a satire and tragicomedy about a man working at a rent-a-friend agency. An agency where you can rent friends, family members, partners, whatever you don't have in your life, you can rent. And Matthias is the name of this man. He works at this agency, and by being someone else every day, he's got the problem that he doesn't know how to be himself anymore.
Which is an interesting problem to have. I've heard of these agencies in Japan, where you can rent an older individual to come and spread wisdom and talk to your family. Where did the idea for this come from in Austria? Is it a service over there, or did you make it up?
No, it's actually that I also discovered rent-a-friend agencies in Japan. I read about them in an article in the New Yorker in 2014, but I just started to study at the Vienna Film Academy at that time. So I put it in a drawer and thought about it 4 years later again. And then I went to Japan to do research, and I met people working at these agencies, and I met a man who told me that because of his odd job, he doesn't know how to be himself anymore. And that's what I found very tragic, and built this satirical story around it.
So when we meet the main character in the film, what's the name of the main character in the film?
Matthias.
Matthias. I want to make sure I pronounce it. Matthias?
Yes.
Okay. So when we meet Matthias, he's struggling to find his identity amongst all these other identities he has to be.
Yeah.
But in these kind of organizations, I imagine, and I mean this in the nicest, not creepiest way possible, they maybe get some unusual requests.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So how does Matthias fit into this world?
I'd say, working at such a rent-a-friend agency is very different from being an actor or an actress, for example, because they are on stage or on set, and everybody knows that this is not real. But with these people working at rent-a-friend agencies, they act in the real world. And if this Bernhard sitting here next to you would be rented, you would not know it. And that's the thing with that. So you can get lost really easily in real life when you act, and nobody knows except the client. So yeah, I hope that answered your question a bit.
Yeah. I also imagine that if you're going in and being rented and you start losing track of who you are, it is difficult to discover that. So what kind of journey does Matthias go on in the film to rediscover who he is?
Yeah, he's not that aware that he's not being himself anymore. He's always fitting in our society perfectly. He's to his girlfriend Sophia, he's trying to be a good boyfriend by bringing flowers and complimenting her and letting her choose which wine to drink. But what she wants from him is to be real and to make decisions and to have real emotions, and all that he doesn't have anymore. It's been there, of course, before, but through his job, he's kind of lost the ability a bit like a doctor who has no problem to see blood anymore. The same with Matthias, being numb to emotions. And she just wants him to react to something, to show real emotions.
When it came to writing the script, and again, going into the idea that we display different versions of ourselves to different people, like we're sitting here talking away happily, and I like you seem like a nice fella. But when I leave the room, I don't know who you are. Like, you may sit and be like, oh, I am so miserable, I hate being here, this is awful. Was that difficult, putting that into the script, to put your take on that situation into the script, and how did you discover that?
Well, my take on the world, I would say, is to see it with humor. Life can be hard, a lot of times, and we are in very difficult situations right now.
Yeah.
But still, I think we should not lose optimism and should still try to stay positive. And with this tragic story and this social topic, I still prefer to talk about it with an audience through humor. So the genre of satire is something I love to do.
When it came to casting the movie, what was that process like? How did you find Matthias, and what was it like working with the actor to bring the film to life?
Well, with having a passive main character, it's very important that you still want to follow that main character over the course of more than 90 minutes. And with Albrecht Schuch, I was looking at all his previous projects and always enjoyed his roles very much and wanted to follow him always. So he's that kind of actor you tend to be really close to his characters. You follow him and you're really invested, and that was a quality we were looking for someone to portray Matthias. And also he's often played some form of hero roles in his previous films. And it was interesting that here, as Matthias, in his jobs he's playing the hero, but in his private life he's so lost. And I always love it when an actor plays a role he hasn't played before as well.
And it also is like I don't want to say it's a stretch for some actors, but it can be difficult. Like you said, Matthias is kind of keeping himself in, he numbs himself, and for an actor who just wants to be like, here I am on the screen, it can be kind of against their not judgment, instincts as a performer. Did that ever come up? Is there a whole different cut where Matthias is just this happy, bouncy character?
No, that doesn't exist. But it's interesting that you mentioned that, because Albrecht once said that it's so strange. Whenever Matthias enters a room, nothing changes. And that's something you're not used to when looking at main characters. He's a particular odd main character, but still we try to, show that his emotions are there. They are existing, but underneath a lot of layers. And when we prepared for the role, when he prepared Albrecht and we were talking about the role, we were talking about what does him being lost mean, because he looks a lot in the film without dialogue. And is he lost in that moment because he doesn't know what happens right now? Or is he lost because he doesn't know how to react? Or is he lost because he doesn't know how to get out of all of this again? So these small nuances we try to work around during preparations.
I'd like to ask about reactions from the audience. What have people who've seen the film reacted to it, and what's been the feedback to it?
Well, thankfully the film was received very well in every country we've showed it to yet. It's interesting to see how different cultures react to the film, because it's not it's an Austrian-German co-production, but it's not a very regional humor or something like that. I think it's a humor that works internationally because it's also very visual. And for example, the Scandinavian audience really loved the darker scenes, and on the other side, for example, the US audience was a bit shocked with nudity in the film. So it's a bit different wherever you show it, but I'm happy that everybody seemed to enjoy it.
Which must be nice as a director, letting everybody enjoy it and getting the feedback and being like, yeah, I did a good job, pat in the back.
I'm very thankful for it.
What is next for you? I know we're just releasing this film. Do you have another one in the pipeline? What's happening next?
Yeah, I've actually got 2 feature film ideas and 1 series idea. I can't tell you too much about it yet, but still, what I can say that I will again work with my own handwriting, of course. So I will stick to that kind of subtle, odd, a bit surreal or bizarre humor. And I really like the topic of breakups, because the big subjects of film are love and death, and I think breakups are an interesting combination of these two topics.
Yeah, now you say that, it is very much, you feel both those emotions, especially when a relationship does end.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully see you next year for the next one. Good luck with the film.
Thank you very much.